At the beginning of this story, we see a bunker and two people running away from something. At the same time, the sound of a creature's roar was also heard, and this woman named Chloe and a man were running from the same creature. Chloe sees a sliding door close in front. She quickly moves to the other side of the door, but the man cannot get out of the door and the creature pulls the man back, and the sliding door closes. Now scared, Chloe comes into a command room. Here she leaves a video message for someone and tells that there has been an attack here, due to which all the scientists who were there have gone extinct. If you want details about Adam and his research, get me out of here. And after sending this message, she takes an axe to kill the creature. On the other hand, we also see this terrible creature. Chloe was right behind him, and she was about to kill him secretly. That's when the scene is cut from here, and we are shown a soldier whose name was James, who got the mission to save Chloe, and he tells his pregnant wife about it. His wife is quite angry with him, because James's profession was quite dangerous. But he was going to get a lot of money for this mission, and it was his last mission, by saying that they both say goodbye to each other. And James goes on his mission. James had other soldiers on his team. During the flight, he tells about the whole case, where he states that the lab is in Bosvania. Research on human DNA was going on here, and they received a message from a scientist, namely Chloe, 8 hours ago. They don't know how this accident happened, but they have to save Chloe at all costs, while the people there are against this research center. So they have created their own army, by which they are trying to enter this lab, so that they can destroy this whole lab. But they won't be able to go in due to the lockdown in the lab right now. An officer from his team tells that they have found a secret door to enter the lab, from where we have to enter, and save Chloe and come out of the other tunnel, so that the local army there does not know anything. And within 24 hours, a helicopter will reach another location, and we have to take Chloe to reach this location. And a team of them is on the ground near this tunnel. Now after some time, this team reaches this location. Now these teams are divided into two groups. Rachel and some soldiers with her were going to go to the lab to rescue Chloe, and James and his friend Marshall were going to the lab from that tunnel. After some time, Rachel and her team arrive at the lab. Meanwhile, James and his soldiers were looking for their ground team. Now a boy from that town who was in the local army sees them. He had a metal detector in his hand, and he starts running when he sees them both. The boy was about to run away from both of them when his ground team caught him. They were about to kill the boy when James stopped them, and instead of killing him, orders him to be tied to a tree, because he didn't want to take her life. But the rest of his team was unhappy with James's decision. We now see Rachel's team inside the lab. They were looking for Chloe when a zombie-like man attacked them, but the soldiers shoot him down badly. On the other hand, James's team was moving forward when the local military opened fire on them, in which many of his colleagues are injured and many are killed. Now with James and Marshall, a wounded soldier named Gab. All three survived. Gab, who was quite injured, hides in a place. During the fight, James sees the boy they tied up. James realizes that he is the one who called the local army, so he kills the boy. Seeing this, the local army is even more enraged, and to find the three, they leave the dogs behind, which leads them to Gab, and now they make him their prisoner. Now seeing this, James and Marshall have to move forward even if they don't want to. James realizes that this entire forest is surrounded by the army, and there is no way to escape them. A short distance away, they see a river and both jump into it, due to which the army cannot follow them. And after coming out on the other side of the river, the two proceed to find the tunnel using the map. Now because the local army has kept Gab prisoner, they ask Gab about this secret tunnel, which goes straight to the lab. But even after a lot of torture, Gab doesn't tell them anything. Here we also find that the same locals have locked the lab from outside, so that no one can come out of the lab. Because a dangerous infection spread in the lab, all the people turned into zombies. A zombie was lying in a bag in front of Gab, which scared him. Then that soldier kills the zombie. This makes Gab quite surprised, and he realizes that these people want to close the lab only to prevent the spread of this dangerous infection. So Gab tells them about this secret tunnel, after which the entire local army leaves to close the tunnel. Meanwhile, James and Marshall were looking for the tunnel with the help of the map, and finally they found the way to the tunnel. They don't find their team when they enter the lab. And at the same time, they were hearing a very dangerous roaring sound. They both reach a room where they find a recorder. And by listening to this recording, they get to know what was actually happening here. In this recording, it was being told that some years ago, scientists had found unknown DNA from the glacier, and that DNA was reacting strangely. And in this lab, the experiment was being done on the same DNA. Now these two were listening to the recording when they started hearing someone's voice. When James goes out to look, he sees the same scientist, Chloe. But then there is a sudden attack on James. and we get to see the creature for the first time. But this creature was even weirder than zombie. It was about to kill James when Chloe attacked the creature from behind. Meanwhile, Marshall also comes there and starts shooting the creature, after which the creature runs away from there. Now these three come towards the tunnel and they find that the local army has reached here, and they are closing the tunnel. Now these people go through ventilation to get out of here. But while leaving there, this creature grabs the leg of James, and James shoots him and moves on. Then they all reach a room. Here James and Marshall, who were unaware of this experiment, Chloe flares up and asks what is going on here, and who are these creatures? In fact, they were not told at all about so many creatures in the lab. Then Chloe tells them that this creature is a hybrid made from the DNA of a human and a different species, and they first named the hybrid Adam, which was made 30 years ago, and experiments were done on it for many years. But during the experiment, that creature became unstable and started attacking everyone, so that all the scientists in the lab also started turning into creatures, except Chloe, because she was not attacked. Now they all had to get out of the lab any way they could, so they start looking for a way. But they also had to find their team that had come in before them, so they decide to go to the bottom level of the lab, although Chloe is against it. Now, after going downstairs, they find Rachel in a room, who was quite injured as the creature bite her, and now she was also infected. Chloe immediately shoots him down. This makes the Marshal quite angry, because Rachel and Marshall were pretty good friends. That's why Marshall and Chloe start fighting. But then a creature attacks them. Now these guys immediately run away and James and Chloe go into a room. There the Marshal was in a morgue room and goes into a corpse drover to hide. Now where James and Chloe are hiding there is a dead body, and as soon as they see it, the dead body comes alive and starts turning into a creature and starts calling the outside creature by shouting loudly. Chloe quickly attacks him and kills him. Then the creature from outside tries to enter, and James and Chloe both start to close the door in fear. There the Marshal was hiding with the dead body. He was also the same infected man who suddenly turns into a zombie and starts attacking the Marshal. But the Marshal takes out a knife from his pocket and kills him on the spot. On the other hand, the creature that was trying to enter the room suddenly runs away. James is shocked to see this, but at the same time, the local army enters the lab through this tunnel, so that they can destroy all research and kill all infected people. In no time, the military arrives there and attacks James as well. But then Chloe comes from behind and kills them single-handedly. There a man approaches the Marshal and asks him about his brother. Actually, his brother was the same boy they killed. So he knocks the Marshal unconscious and ties him to a stretcher. And when he regains consciousness, they tell him about the infection, that he will see many visions while the infection spreads, because he was also infected due to zombie bites. After some time, he starts having visions and sees Adam, that is, the main creature, and he discovers that Adam is none other than the scientist Chloe. Meanwhile, a creature comes there and kills the man standing next to the Marshal. He then goes to the Marshal, but the Marshal was already unhitched, so the creature leaves without doing anything to him. Meanwhile, James and Chloe continue to Adam's room. On arrival, James finds the body of his team member. He then gives Chloe a cell phone and tells her to leave the bunker alone. James then leaves to find Marshall. Then he sees a swing lying there, after which he asks Chloe again about Adam, to which she tells him that Adam is none other than her. It was made from DNA found in a glacier 30 years ago, due to which he has been imprisoned in this lab for the last 30 years. And Chloe's blood was used while creating this creature. That's why these creatures haven't attacked Chloe so far. James is very angry to hear this because he has been helping her since the beginning. And because of Chloe, the entire lab was destroyed. James angrily asks her, "Why did you do that?" After which she tells that she is pregnant and she does not want to give birth to her child here. Both of them were talking when a creature comes and starts killing James with Chloe's gesture. Meanwhile, the Marshal somehow frees himself and reaches James, and puts Chloe at gunpoint and asks James to leave. After which the creature leaves James and starts attacking the Marshal. Then James burns the creature with a fire gun lying there. On the other hand, Chloe takes advantage of the opportunity and comes out of the bunker. Then Oleg sees him outside, which we saw in the beginning of the movie. Oleg had his gun pointed at him, but Chloe slowly goes up to him and hugs him and starts apologizing to him. And suddenly she attacks Oleg with a knife. Then Oleg kills him with the same knife and leaves. Sometime later, when both James and Marshall come out of the bunker, they find Chloe dead. But when they approach her, she suddenly stands up and starts beating them. She alone was beating them both badly. Chloe then picks up the gun lying there to kill them, but then James strangles her by putting a rope around her neck from behind. But she somehow frees herself, and is about to stab James when the Marshal grabs a rope and jumps into the bunker, choking Chloe. and is killed due to not breathing. James then goes to the marshal. Then he sees that the marshal's eyes are changing. This means that now he too has started turning into a creature. Now James asks Marshall to go with him, but the marshal refuses to go, after which James has to come out alone. As soon as he gets out, he calls the rescue team, but before he can talk to them, he faints. Now in the last scene, the rescue team came to save James, but now James was also infected, after which he also starts attacking the rescue team. And with that, the movie ends here. Hope you liked this story. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel.